The hallway was loud that morning, sneakers squeaking against the waxed floor, lockers slamming shut like thunder. Nobody expected what was about to happen. Nobody expected that one ordinary Tuesday would turn into a story the whole school would remember for years. But here's the thing about life, it only takes a few seconds to find out who people really are. And that day, a bully made the biggest mistake of his life. He put his hands on the wrong girl. What happened next? Well, you'll want to stay until the very end to understand why people still talk about it with their voices lowered, almost in awe. Jayla wasn't the type of girl people thought twice about. Quiet, steady, always with her sketchbook tucked under her arm, she walked through life like a shadow that refused to be bent. She wasn't shy, though. There was a calm confidence about her, something in her stride that suggested she knew who she was, even if others didn't. She had grown up hearing her grandmother say, "Never start the fight, but don't you dare let anyone finish you." Those words lived in her chest. Beating with her heart across the hallway stood Blake, the self-proclaimed king of trouble. Everyone knew him, the tall kid with a smirk that never left his face, who carried his cruelty like it was a trophy. He was the kind of bully who didn't just shove you into lockers, but made sure to laugh loud enough for the whole hallway to hear. He fed on fear. And on that day, he thought Jayla would be his next victim. It started small, the way it usually does. A shove at her shoulder as she passed by, his laughter echoing as her books hit the floor. Students paused, some whispering, some shaking their heads. Jayla didn't flinch. She bent down, calmly gathered her things, and kept walking. But Blake wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. The next day, he waited by her locker. When she tried to move past, he blocked her way. The crowd began to form, drawn by the tension like moths to a flame. He sneered at her, muttering insults about her clothes, her hair, the color of her skin. That's when he made the mistake. He shoved her hard against the locker, his hand pressing against her arm like he owned the world, and in that moment, the quiet girl the school thought they knew ceased to exist. Jayla's eyes snapped up, steady and unblinking, fire burning where silence used to live. Time seemed to slow, the chatter in the hallway dying down to nothing. Students leaned in, waiting for her to back away. But Jayla didn't. The next 5 seconds felt like an earthquake. Blake didn't even see it coming. A quick, sharp move, precise, controlled, like she had been preparing for this moment her entire life. He stumbled back, shock flashing across his face as he hit the ground, the smirk wiped clean. The silence broke into gasps, a few cheers erupting as Blake scrambled, his voice cracking as he begged her to stop, his arrogance melting into fear. He wasn't the predator anymore, he was prey, staring into the eyes of someone who refused to be broken, but Jayla didn't hurt him further. She stood tall, her breathing calm, her voice steady when she said, "Don't you ever put your hands on me, or anyone else, again." That was all. No insults. No gloating. Just truth, raw and unshakable. She turned, gathered her books once more, and walked away, leaving the bully in a heap of his own humiliation. Word spread fast. By lunchtime, everyone knew. Some retold it with laughter, some with disbelief, but all agreed on one thing: Blake had finally met his match. For the first time, the school saw Jayla for who she really was, not just a quiet girl, but a force, unshaken by cruelty. That night, Jayla sat with her grandmother, the woman who had planted that seed of strength in her heart years ago. She told her the story, every detail. Her grandmother only smiled knowingly, and said, "Strength isn't about how hard you hit, baby. It's about standing so tall that no one can knock you down." And in the end, that's what stayed with Jayla, not the cheers, not the whispers, not even the look on Blake's face. What stayed with her was the truth: she had faced the storm, and she hadn't just survived. She had shown everyone watching that respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you demand with the way you carry yourself. With the refusal to bow the next day, Blake avoided her in the hallway. He avoided a lot of people, actually. And though no one said it aloud, there was a shift in the air. Jayla had changed something in that school, something bigger than just one fight. She had reminded every kid watching, every quiet soul, every overlooked name, that sometimes, all it takes is 5 seconds of courage to change everything. By the end of that week, Jayla wasn't just the girl with the sketchbook anymore. She was the girl who taught everyone that standing your ground doesn't always mean fighting, it means knowing your worth, and never letting anyone take it away. And that's why this story isn't really about a bully or a fight in a hallway. It's about strength, the kind that lives in silence until it's needed most. The kind that reminds the world, if you put your hands on the wrong person, you'll learn quickly just how strong they really are.